Welcome to Garden Plants with Jim Putnam. Let's talk Stellar Ruby Magnolia. Stellar Ruby Magnolia is a banana shrub hybrid and has a lot of the same great characteristics, including the fragrant flowers of a banana shrub. But it grows in a very upright, narrow habit. This plant can reach 10 to 15 feet in height, probably 6 to 8 feet in width, something like that, but can actually be kept narrower than that. It's evergreen. As you can see, I'm shooting this in the middle of March. It's held up just beautifully through my winter. It's budded up and ready to bloom. The growth rate on Stellar Ruby is actually pretty quick. This one was about half this height 14 or 15 months ago when it went in the ground. So it's actually, if it's happy, well mulched, weed free, it can get to growing pretty quickly. This one was introduced by Pat McCracken, same person who introduced Sunshine Ligustrum, which I think you can see over my shoulder right here. Flowers are going to start on this plant sometime in late spring. And the beauty of this is where regular banana shrubs will just bloom out all at once there in the late spring or early summer, maybe into early summer. This one will continue to have some flowers on it, and I've seen this thing flowering well up into fall. So heavy flowering early, and the buds are now on the stems. Won't be long here before some of these actually start to open up. We get a few 85 degree days, and then some repeat flowering through the summer and into fall. And again, super, super fragrant. Stellar Ruby is hardy in zones 7 to 9. I always talk about these evergreen shrubs that are hardy in zones 7, 8, 9, 10. If you're in zone 7A, where this thing is definitely hardy, spring plant it so it has a season under it before it goes into its first winter. Probably, this thing has been really, really cold hardy for me. It wouldn't surprise me in a protected space, as long as it was getting enough sunlight, that it would work in zone 6B as well. I don't know that, but I mean, it just seems like as hardy as it's been out here in this open space, that it is probably a little bit hardier than that. Full sun is best on this plant. It will take part shade. I think if you drop below a half a day of full sun, though, it's going to start to get thinner on you, and probably not have as many flowers along the stems either. Let's talk about some uses for Stellar Ruby. This is a great specimen plant, which is what I've done here. I've got one of them in this space, and I have it surrounded by other evergreen and non-evergreen pieces, perennials that are asleep right now, and annuals that will be planted around it. So it's just the centerpiece of a bed. If you have a 2-story house and you're looking for something on the corner that gets tall and narrow, Stellar Ruby will be a perfect choice for that. If you're in zones 7B, 8, 9, this is great integrated into as a screening plant, great screening plant. I talk frequently about not using all the same thing in your screen. So as a mix in a screen, perfect plant for that. This is not a picky plant, as long as it's getting, you're putting it in a sunny enough area and it's going to be a well-drained space. It would not want to sit in water. When you're planting it here in my clay soils, I will leave them mounded up just a bit. Very drought tolerant once established, but drought tolerance is great. It means that the plant can survive on its own without you. That doesn't always mean something's going to thrive and be its absolute best if you're just letting it get established and never paying attention to it again. So keep in mind that, when it's abnormally dry, this is a plant that I probably want to put some water on, because especially if you're trying to get some growth out of it, and it's going to do its best flowering, stay fuller, not drop interior leaves, if it gets too dry. So again, very, very drought tolerant, but monitor it, think about it during the summer if it goes 2-3 weeks without rain. These can be pruned after their spring flowering. I don't think you're going to have to do a lot of pruning on it. Literally, this one's never been pruned. This is how it grows. I imagine that at some point I'll get some crazy limb out here. I can cut that off whenever. If I needed to do some general shearing to keep it thinner, again, I would do that after it flowers heavily in the spring. That new growth will probably end up giving you some additional flower buds that will bloom a little later into summer. It's a very, very pest-resistant plant. Deer tend to leave things alone, and again, I always frequently talk about if you have deer issues, fragrant plants tend to be your friends. Most, but not all, tend to be your friends in those types of landscapes. So Stellar Ruby Magnolia from the Southern Living Plant Collection. I really, really love this plant.